Meeting is being recorded. There it is, right on time. The meeting is being recorded, and that's to support anyone who can't be with us today to have the chance to follow along. It will be posted on the City of San Diego website. For those of you who missed the June meeting, that meeting recording is posted on the website, and also the summary notes are on the website if you prefer to read rather than to watch and listen to our 2-hour meeting. Okay. So here's our plan. We're going to do a little bit more by way of introductions, and then we're going to have the city present in 2 parts. They're going to present the rest of the draft Mid-City Atlas existing conditions report. We got to the first part of it the last time, and we're going to revisit the second part of it. We're also going to pause to hear from the working group members to take some time to reflect. We're going to take a short break in between the second half, which is the second presentation of the draft public engagement summary. We'll do another working group reflection, and then we will take public comment in the end. We expect that we may end around 8 or we may go longer. Either way, we're going to take about 20, maybe even more, 25 minutes to do public comment. And if you haven't already seen, there is a clipboard floating around whereby you can, there it is right there. You can sign up to give public comment. If you already know that you want to say something, then by all means, sign up now. We're going to take names in order that they're written there. We're also going to hear from the folks online. We're going to rotate so that anyone who wants to have your perspective shared in the room, you may share it at the end. Okay. So we do have a team of folks who are here who made this evening and this event possible. We have all kinds of staff members. So I'd like to start actually with our city team. If you would introduce yourselves, and then we'll go to the Ascent team. And Alex, you'll want to use the mic. Let me just make sure that it is turned on here. There we go.
You need to pass this along.
And then, yeah, you can pass it to your team. I'll pass my mic to the Ascent team.
Good evening, everyone. Alex Frost. I'm the project manager for the Mid-City Communities Plan update. All right.
I'm Selena Sanchez, an associate planner, and I'll be assisting Alex.
Good evening, everyone. Aparna Padmakumar, associate planner with the city planning department as well, and assisting Alex too.
And we from city planning, we also have Scott Sandell. He's our park planner. We have Micah, our intern, and then we have Destiny, our intern here as well. So
Okay, nice.
welcome.
Nice big team. Welcome, everybody. Okay, I'm going to pass to the Ascent team.
Hi, everyone. Maybe I'll just do a team introduction for Ascent to keep things moving. I'm Matt Geldman from Ascent. We have Christine Babla, Veronica Alatorre, and Isaac Ng all supporting the meeting tonight. So I think that's it from Ascent.
We also have our working group members who are all residents of Mid-City, representing all the different areas. They all were brought on through an application process. For those who are curious about that application process, it's available online, so you can take a look at it there. And this is what we've asked them to do. We've asked them to be involved in the plan from the start to the finish, to review project materials related to public engagement, research, and technical studies, to suggest ideas that could be included in the plan update, and to provide feedback on proposals related to the plan update. And really the invitation for all of us is to listen as well to each other and to the public, because what we're seeking to do is to create a dynamic program or update for a really incredibly amazing and diverse community. And so we also are wanting to be collective about our approach and really hear each other's point of views and take that into account as we think about input. So on that, I'm going to actually go ahead and take this mic. And if it's okay, Zach, we want to hear your voices in the room. Just say your name and say your community.
I'm Zach, and I'm from Orlando Park.
Thank you. You can keep passing it along, but I'll help when there's a jump like that.
And then, well, he's in City Heights. My name is Eric Kelly. I'm from El Cerrito.
Hello, everyone. I'm Brittany Gordon, and I'm in tech. I'm Vicky Polo, normal height.
Thank you. And I believe there are 3 members who are online. We would love to hear your voices. If you could introduce yourselves and tell us what community you are from.
Lynn Edwards, I'm from Rolando Park and I'm chair of the Eastern Area Communities Planning Group.
Hi, everyone. Angelica Rocha, and I am from El Cerrito.
Hi, everyone. This is Madeline Baudouin-Garashi, and I'm from Normal Heights. I don't think that the mic in the room is working at the moment because we couldn't hear the other members around the table.
Oh, was it off? Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. Thank you for telling us nice and early.
Sure.
And sorry you missed their voices, but you'll hear them in discussion. How does that sound?
Sounds great.
Okay.
Sorry
Okay,
I couldn't
perfect.
be there. Thank you.
We'll see you next time, we hope.
Looking forward to it. Thanks.
All right. So as I said, just a couple more logistics. This meeting is being recorded. There will be a public comment period for both those of you online and those of you in person. In the meantime, there are comment cards. So by all means, write your comments now. And those of you online, go ahead and put some notes in the chat. That's also going to be recorded and used as input for the city. Okay. I don't have to make the note about the mics because they're working now. What I will say is that sometimes we still struggle to hear each other. So I would offer that if you are able to position yourself in a way that as many people as possible can see your face, that can be helpful. It can also be helpful if you stand up, if you're able. All right, moving right along. So I want to invite you all to look at the way in which we want to hold space together today. For those of us who are in person and online, we want to interact respectfully with project staff, working group members, and members of the community. We want to stay concise to create time for as many voices in the room to contribute. We want to consider the diverse needs and goals of the Mid-City communities and work to provide inclusive input and resources. And we want to share relevant on-topic perspectives and information. We want to help maintain a welcoming and inclusive environment that values all perspectives. How does that sound? The thing about agreements is that we kind of have to all do our best to agree to them. So I like to take a moment to just look you in the eyes and maybe we can nod together and agree. Thank you all. So the other thing that I expect to happen is there could be a topic that comes up whereby we're glitching a little bit. We're back and forth. We're not quite sure where to go with it, or it's a question we can't answer. In that case, I might say that we table that topic. We revisit it at the end. Some of us will hang around and we can keep talking, or it might be something that we include as an addendum in the meeting summary notes, or the city has other ways that they're able to continue to be in dialogue with you. But I'll be watching for some of those moments just so that I can keep us moving on to all the many things we have to do today. All right. And on that note, I would like to offer the city the stage to continue talking about the draft Mid-City Atlas.
So David's question was, where does this report go, basically? It was publicly available. It's for the community, but we will be presenting to the Planning Commission at the Planning Commission workshop on October 24th. It's an information item. Typically during a plan update, we'll go like 3 times, you know, in beginning, middle, and end kind of thing. So yeah.
Great. And Alex, if you're able to keep the mic nice and close, just in case so folks can hear. Everyone able to hear so far? Okay. Okay. Oh yeah, the clicker.
Good evening, everyone. Alex Frost again, project manager. Just brief overview. Miss City is over 8,000 acres, made up of 4 community planning areas: City Heights, Eastern, Kensington, Talmadge, and Normal Heights. Within these communities, there are 24 neighborhoods, and over 133,000 people live in Miss City, which is about 10% of city's population as of 2022, and there are 20,000 jobs. All right, so why are we updating the Miss City Communities Plan? The last update was in 1998, which was over 25 years ago, and a lot has changed since then. The update to the plan will serve as the 30-year vision for land use, mobility, urban design, public facilities and services, natural resources, historic and cultural resources, and economic development. We are wrapping up the first phase of the plan update, collecting, gathering community ideas, and we'll be heading into the second phase this fall. I think the major milestones coming up is to have a first draft of the plan by winter 2025, and we'll be releasing an ideas report in spring of 2025, which I'll talk about later. In addition to releasing the Miss City Atlas existing conditions report, we have also released appendices to the report, which includes data by community planning area, as well as an interactive web map with various layers. So you can kind of zoom in and zoom out to where you live. We have received a lot of great feedback on what needs to be updated or corrected. So the revised draft is anticipated later this year. And if you see something in the report, please let us know. We have been taking a lot of notes, and there's been some great feedback. Here we go. The existing condition report provides a snapshot of existing conditions, challenges, and opportunities. And today we'll be going over the last 3 chapters highlighted in green: land use and development, mobility, and parks, public facilities, and open space. All right, so passing it on to Selena here. You have to come.
Now to go over the land use and development. Our first map is of the existing land uses, which is what is currently on the ground. 48% of the plan area has housing in it. 33% is public facilities and utilities. However, the reason this number is so high is because it's taking into account transportation like the freeways and streets. And the third highest land use is parks and recreation at 13%. Next, the adopted community plan land use map, which consists of our plan land uses. Land use will be a key area of focus during this community plan update. We will be exploring different land uses to further our city goals. Housing is identified and allowed in 65% of the planning area. 13% is designated for open space. And the third highest planned land use is commercial at 9%. This is our current zoning map adopted in the last 1998 community plan. We will be changing the zoning as well during this process. And zoning is important because it is a tool we use to implement the land use designations and the policies in the community plan. And another thing that is unique about Mid-City area is that its major corridors are a part of essential urbanized plan districts rather than citywide zones. These districts are unique to some neighborhoods and have specific zoning and development rules of their own. They are a form of custom zoning. However, as part of this plan update, the plan districts will be replaced by citywide zoning. This slide shows the distribution of the existing residential density. As the percentages show, roughly 60% of the planning areas has a density between 0 to 9 units per acre, so within low land use designations, and only 10% of the land has 30 units or more per acre, which are mostly clustered around Adams Avenue, El Cajon Boulevard, and University Avenue. Onto the total number of jobs. In this map, you can identify the 3 largest employment centers, which are located in City Heights Urban Village, College Grove Shopping Center, and in the Oak Park neighborhood and Federal Boulevard. And of course, many of the jobs are found along the major corridors of Adams Avenue, El Cajon Boulevard, Fairmount Avenue, and University Avenue. And a large percentage of industrial jobs are concentrated along Federal Boulevard. Next, when looking at commuter inflow and outflows, 82.5% of the total jobs in Mid-City are held by workers who commute into Mid-City, while around 62,000 workers commute out of Mid-City. And only 3,688 jobs are held by workers who both live and work in Mid-City. This plan update presents an opportunity to increase the number of people who live and work within Mid-City by locating more homes near jobs and ultimately helping us reach some of our greenhouse reduction goals. On the right, we have an employment profile for Mid-City, and we can see the top industry sectors are education and healthcare at 43%, retail and wholesale at 16%, and accommodation and food services at 11%. Lastly, there are 6 business improvement districts within Mid-City, and they are the Adams Avenue in blue, City Heights in green, College area in red, Diamond in dark green, El Cajon Central in purple, and El Cajon Gateway in yellow. Now for some key land use points. Residential use is the most prominent existing land use in Mid-City, occupying 3,895 acres. Around 58 acres of land is undeveloped in Mid-City. Significant portions of the community planning area is designated as residential, commercial, and open space. Most of the high-density housing is clustered around Adams Avenue, El Cajon Boulevard, and University Avenue, demonstrating the relatively compact building patterns that predominate along major commercial and transportation corridors. 43% of jobs within Mid-City are in education and healthcare, and 82.5% of the total jobs in Mid-City are held by workers who commute into Mid-City, while roughly 62 workers commute out of Mid-City. Next, we'll be presenting on mobility.
Can I just ask a quick question?
Yes.
For the jobs map that had all the sorry. This is Namwin. Question about the map for the jobs distribution for just as a question for clarity, the small blue dots that were on the map, are those distributed out as folks that work from home or have home-based businesses? Just to get an idea of why they're distributed out.
Thanks for the question. So this data set comes from Census, LEHD. It's from 2019. And I don't think working from home is included. It's clustering of jobs by census tract, I believe, or census block. So it's not exact, but these are registered, businesses. So I suppose it could be work from home as well. And we'll talk about the percentage of people that work from home in Mid-City at the mobility presentation, which Aparna will go right now.
Thank you.
And before that, there's one quick question from Angelica online. Go for it, Angelica. Oh, it's in the chat. Oh, okay, yeah. If you can read it out loud. Okay.
Perhaps we'll get to this, but how does our existing land use categories distribution compare to other community plan areas? For example, is 13% of land use designated to parks and open space comparable to other community plan areas? So that's the question from Angelica.
We'll touch on that at the chapter 6. So after Aparna.
Thank you.
Moving on to the mobility section of the plan, where the overall goal being is to create a more connected and an accessible community for the Mid-City residents. The freeway and street network form the basis for mobility, given that vehicles, bus service, bicycles, and pedestrians all use the network to get around. Mid-City is bounded by Interstate 805 and State Route 15 to the west. Mid-City is physically divided by these freeways as well as the SR 94 freeway with other arterial and collector streets that provide access throughout the community and the freeway network. Around 58% of Mid-City is considered very walkable or somewhat walkable compared to 17% of the rest of the city of San Diego. The map here shows areas within 0.25 miles, that is approximately a 15-minute walk of major community facilities, including libraries, schools, colleges, recreation centers, parks, and open spaces. 35% of Mid-City is considered to be very bikeable or bikeable compared to 22% of the rest of San Diego. As you can see in the map here, the existing bike network in Mid-City is primarily a combination of Class 2 in blue, Class 3 in green facilities, and some Class 1 and bicycle boulevard facilities clustered in the western portion of the planning area. The regional bikeways provide the majority of bicycle connectivity within the plan area. Local and rapid bus service provides public transit within Mid-City as shown in the figure here. Buses offer connections to trolley stops outside the planning area and the greater San Diego region. Within Mid-City, there were approximately 355 collisions involving a pedestrian and resulting in an injury, occurring over a 5-year period between 2018 and 2022. Of those collisions, 79 resulted in a serious or severe injury, as shown in this figure. The heat map shows the concentration of pedestrian crashes resulting in injury within the planning area. Within Mid-City, there were approximately 9 collisions involving a bicyclist, resulting in serious injury or fatality occurring over a 5-year period between 2018 and 2022, as shown here. To summarize the mobility section, we see that the freeway and street network form the basis of mobility within the Mid-City area. Existing canyons and freeways provide the biggest barrier to pedestrian walkability. Mid-City is a medium to high bicycle trip generator area. The intersections with the most pedestrian collisions were concentrated along El Cajon Boulevard, University Avenue, Fairmont Avenue, and Euclid Avenue. Serious pedestrian injuries are also clustered along corridors as well as the entrances and exits to freeways in Mid-City. Around 20% of Mid-City workers either commute by walking, bicycling, public transit, or work from home.
All right, moving on to public facilities, parks, and open space. Mid-City has a system of parks and recreational facilities, which range from community neighborhood parks, mini parks, to sports field, aquatic centers, some of which are shared with neighboring communities. So city has a way to calculate existing park standards. It's a baseline using recreation value points. This was a new standard adopted by City Council through the Parks Master Plan in 2021. It's based on number of people living. So as you can see, there's a total population of over 130,000 people. And based on 100 points per 1,000 people, it's about 13,327 points. That's the standard for Mid-City as of today. So you can see that we're at current recreation value points is about 7,000. So it's about fulfilling 53% of the standard. So, and Helica asked, well, how does this compare to other communities? So we'll take Mira Mesa and University City. So those two communities, fairly large in size, is at 56% today. Uptown is at 25%. based on like the park standard. So that just provides some context there. In
What was Mayor Mason? What was the other one?
University City,
University.
Yeah.
City. Oh, UCC.
yeah,
Okay.
UC. Wait,
Thank you.
Yeah. Recreation center requirements is based on 17,000 square feet per 25,000 people. So based on today's population, about 90,000 square feet. Right now in Miss City, there is about 50,000 square feet of recreation center. And in terms of aquatic complex requirement, it's one complex per 50,000 people. So it's at 2.6 aquatic complexes. There's 2 pools basically in Miss City today. So closest to fulfilling that standard. In terms of public facilities, we have 3 libraries, 4 fire stations, 30 public schools, 4 private schools, and police and community relations storefront. There is 1 fire station that's being proposed on Fairmont Avenue in southern part of City Heights, and also a new library is being planned for Eastern area in Oak Park, which we need to add to the map.
Isn't that near Joyous Lake?
Inside Choyas Lake.
Yeah. it's
Yeah,
gonna be in
yeah.
that
New library, yeah, they're building. Just figure provides a historical student enrollment trends in Miss City for those attending San Diego Unified School District's elementary, middle, and high school. The total student enrollment declined by 36% from its peak in year 2000 compared to 2022. So that's around 7,300 fewer students enrolled in San Diego Unified School District schools today. Well, so at the last meeting, we presented that the population of Miss City peaked in 2000, right? And then it declined by 9% today. And a lot of it is just, there's just a lot of fewer young people now living in Miss City because of various reasons. Yeah. So this kind of confirms that information presented at the June meeting. Finally, we have a map here showing the multi-habitat planting area and vegetation, which shows cities' undisturbed vegetation located. It's essentially a conservation land and a habitat preserve. So within MHPA, development is limited to protect and ensure viability of covered species and preserve a network of open space and habitat in San Diego. So in summary, Miss City system of parks and recreational facility is vast, ranging from community neighborhood parks to mini parks, sports field, and aquatic centers. Using the 2022 population, Miss City does not meet the current recreational value-based standard. Recreation center square footage required and aquatic complexes required. Through the Choyas Creek Master Plan, Miss City can expect more outdoor recreation opportunities, while the natural qualities and habitats within the watershed will be continued to be preserved. And planned public facility currently encompasses a proposed fire station at intersection of Fairmont Avenue and 47th Street in City Heights, along with suggested enhancement for all 3 libraries in Miss City area. And most of the planning area has been extensively developed. The remaining undisturbed areas, mostly along the canyons, are protected under city's planned habitat preserve. So that concludes this portion of the presentation. Thank you.
All right, so from here, we're going to hear from the working group members. Those of you in the public, I can see there's some folks who have some questions and some thoughts. As I said, you will have the chance in the end. Please hold your comments, and we do have comment cards, which I can pass around as well. For now, we're going to take about 2 minutes for those who have the time in a 20-minute block. We may not get to all of us this round. You also can submit your comments in writing. In the next round too, we'll make sure to start with folks who haven't had a chance to share. So yeah, consider the questions at the top as prompts. We'd love to hear your responses. Does someone have something you would like to say? Okay.
For the land use piece, I know it was mentioned that the planned districts will be going away. What city zone will replace those?
Short answer, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
I figured it probably was too
But
early, but
that's part of the plan update process. And, as we go through maybe the next year, we'll know more about alternatives and options related to new land uses.
gotcha. Thanks.
Who else would like to say something? Okay, David, I'm going to pass you this mic and I'm going to time you just to support. You've got about 2 minutes before we pass it on.
Then I'll have to go very fast, but there's a
Okay.
lot to discuss here.
I hear you.
For all of the working group members, when you see the maps of land uses and you see all the green, do not confuse open space with park space. They are entirely different things. Oftentimes, open space is privately owned and is not accessible to the public. It is not the same as park space. Going to the parks points evaluations, I want to thank park planning staff for accurately counting and evaluating the base numbers of the various amenities within the Kensington Talmadge area. However, once you go beyond that, their actual calculation of the points does not actually follow what's outlined in the parks master plan. They are not, first of all, these points are supposed to be calculated by planning area. There are 4 planning areas. So there's not a 53% coverage of the standard. There are 4 planning areas with 4 very divergent scores that range from 88% of the standard to 8% of the standard. The cross-category limits were not applied to the variety of amenities within the parks that is specified in the parks master plan. And when the access and connectivity cutoff level was applied, it was applied to all 4 plan areas as if they were one, not to the 4 plan areas as 4 separate plan areas. So these should be reviewed and calculated according to the requirements of the parks master plan. Thank you.
Did it. Thank you. Okay, I also want to be mindful of folks online. Madeline, Lynn, or Angelica, do you have anything you'd like to offer? Okay. Please interrupt me if you do. May I pass you the mic? Okay. We give you 10 minutes. I mean, 2 minutes.
I won't
The
need
rest
10
of the
minutes.
it's yours.
This is Thomas from Normal Heights. I was wondering if the existing mobility network map included classification of alleys that are not paved, as I'm sure there are some in the community. Okay.
We had a head shake.
The
You like to
quick
say?
answer is no, but we are preparing a much more detailed mobility existing conditions report, which will, go into that level of details. So that should be coming out next couple months. Yeah, thanks.
Well, that ties into my principal question, which was there's a big lack of detail in section 5.5. I strongly believe that the community working group here and the public needs to see the ridership data of, the bus and trolley system by route, because how can we make recommendations if we don't know that? But it sounds like, will that level of detail be available in this report? Right. Okay, good. So that's good news. And then I did want to know, do the 58 undeveloped acres within Mid-City include those canyon areas which are protected, or are they actually acreage that can be developed?
You can pass them the mic.
I think a lot of it is developable, but we'll have to look into that as we do our land use analysis. Yeah.
Hi. About a week and a half ago, I was at a meeting, and I noticed that they had brought up a roadway coming from Grantville, coming up Fairmont. And they had said that that road has been there since like the 1800s, which is historical, correct? Right? I mean, just 1800s, that's a long time, right? And then all of that like open space that's in between the roads that I'm talking about, would that be considered to be developed? Like, would something be developed there or wouldn't it be? No?
Yeah, so Fairmount Avenue, old roads. So it's not historically designated. Certain freeways, like State Route 163 is designated historic. Certain portion, as you drive through Balboa Park to downtown. But I believe it's not. The open space areas around there, that's steep hillside, it's environmentally sensitive lands. A lot of it is multi-habitat planning area. So yes, highly unlikely to develop, and it's preserved conserved areas. Yeah.
Okay, I want to also pause again for the members who are online. You'll have to make sure also to raise your hand so that Paul can unmute you. Just wanted to make that clear there, and we'll go ahead and pass it to Nam.
This is Namwin. In the mobility section regarding, is there information that's going to be included to the road conditions or the existence of sidewalks in the mid-city area?
The existence of sidewalks, I believe, will be in the mobility existing conditions report. Roadway conditions, potentially, I would have to check with our mobility planner for that.
Thank you.
Hold up. I got to make sure anyone who hasn't yet spoken of the working group have either a question or a comment before we repeat members who are interested in speaking again. We have one online. Okay, let's hear from whomever you are. Please say your name.
Hi, everyone. This is Angelica. Just want to make sure you can hear me.
We can hear you.
Okay, great. Thanks, everyone, and thanks for that presentation. I was interested in the section in the report that was on household transportation spending. I found those numbers to be really interesting, but also challenging to understand without having an overlay of household income. And so there is sort of a discrepancy in low income households and the burden that they typically spend on average for transportation and how that differs among higher income earners. So I think it's figure 5.8 and household transportation spending. Just wanted to make a recommendation or offer to consider how those census tracts differ in terms of their household incomes and how that distribution of household spending for transportation maybe is not evenly distributed across the planning area.
Yeah, we can definitely look into that and potentially add another map or revise that map to show, percentage of median household income, that you use for transportation costs. Maybe that would be more helpful, or some other way to present the data better. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Sorry, just a follow-up, because it looks like Kensington and Normal Heights have, the highest burden of spending towards transportation, but maybe those are likely the more households with higher income compared to the rest of the planning area. So yeah, thanks for considering that.
Okay, anyone else online? Anyone else who hasn't spoken, who has a question or a thought before I pass it to another member? It's you. Okay. Yeah, oh, sorry.
All right, this is a quick question and it's just a suggestion. And if you don't have the resources, I understand, but this is going all the way back to section 1.5, just kind of existing conditions. I just want to lay out the reason I'm making this suggestion. One, I remember reading, it was way back when I moved to San Diego in like 2014, that City Heights was the second most diverse neighborhood in the nation. I'm not sure if that's still the case, but it's still, I'm sure, one of the most diverse, which is a huge asset of our neighborhood. And so I think this report should reflect that. And then the other reason is, I think our neighborhood is facing some big challenges. My neighbor across the street a couple years ago, overdosed on fentanyl. There are issues out on our streets. We all know this, right? I'm not going to go into it, but I think it would be helpful to maybe list a list of houses of worship and faith-based, organizations. I mean, we're literally meeting in one right now here at the Croc at the Salvation Army. So those are assets of our community. And it's also, I think, seeing the amount of temples and mosques and synagogues and churches would be, just that list would be a celebration of the diversity of our community and a list of assets that the city can work with to combat, some of the big challenges that are on our streets. So that's just an idea to add to the existing conditions report.
Yeah, thanks, Eric. Yeah, we could definitely explore that. I think actually we talked about mapping all the temples and churches because there is such a diverse range of faith-based locations, and it is a community gathering space. So yeah, we'll look into that. City Heights is second most diverse in the nation. I'm not sure about that, and I'm not sure how we can find that out, but we'll take a look. We know it's the most diverse community in San Diego region. So we'll look into that for sure. Thanks.
Okay, pass it over to you, Zach.
One thing that stood out to me in the walkability scoring is that it didn't include any grocery stores. And I know that like a big feature for me when it comes to walkability is like, can I make it to food without having to get in the car? It's a big reason why I chose my specific location because I can walk to Walmart, we only have one car in the house. And then like access to transit, I guess also, I don't know if that could be incorporated. It might be in the mobility element that you've been talking about. So, but yeah, walking to grocery stores, I think that's like a big one for walkability. So.
Yeah, we can explore that as well. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, we have another comment here.
This is Thomas again. I had a quick question about the inclusion of other infrastructure elements based upon a prior map, and I was trying to find the section that talked about the dates of development and expansion of the community, and typically infrastructure, specifically underground, water, sewer, storm drain, is built out at that time. Thus, we have quite a bit of aged infrastructure. Does that get captured here, or is that not contemplated at all?
So this concern came up quite a bit in our public engagement activities. So, what we'll do is to elevate it and to meet with other city departments to, find out if that's a concern, or are the water mains and sewer mains, are they getting replaced with more capacity and whatnot? I know our infrastructure overall is crumbly a little bit, but things are, being improved constantly. So definitely noted on that.
Thank you. We have time for one more comment if there is one from the working group. Yes, Brittany.
I believe it's crucial that we not only plan for the future of City Heights, but we also protect its past and the way that it's been shaped. As we move forward with development and changes, I would like to bring just a couple of things that are important to me, to everyone's attention. Preserving historical landmarks and cultural spaces that reflect the African-American community, the heritage here in City Heights. Too often these places are overlooked or erased. We must safeguard them, whether through restoration efforts or official historical designations. I also believe it's essential to document the oral histories of African-American elders and longstanding community members. These stories hold incredible value, and without them, future generations will lose a vital part of their cultural identity. We could collaborate with local schools, libraries, or museums to create a lasting archive. And it can go on, but I'm gonna cut it short.
All
Thank
right. Yeah, thanks for the feedback.
Thank you, Brittany.
yeah. The historic component, like we could definitely look into that. The oral history piece, that might be like additional initiative, but yeah, we'll definitely talk more about it.
All right, so with that, we are gonna take a short breather, just a 5-minute reset. If you don't know, the restrooms are there. And there is some food and snacks and some drinks, so please take a few moments to settle yourself together and then we'll come back.
Thank you. And you know, really talking about the churches, I 1000% agree with you. Yeah, I really do. Paramount Baptist Church, the church that I grew up in. It's over on Oak Avenue at Paramount. And I have a picture of me standing in front of that church and I'm like, four. Yeah. And, you know, it's changed over the years. It's still a church. It may not be a Baptist church anymore, but as long as it's still being utilized for what it's meant for. But most definitely, I think that was a smart suggestion. That you made. Yeah, yeah.
I appreciate everything that you said. Thank you very much. Are you contact Tinker Enterprise with the demo? Yes, I was talking to her about it. Have you been?
Yes, I'm gonna-
Okay, so you know what I'm.
Yeah, I'm born and raised.
Okay. Try to
I do want to ask members of the public, if you haven't signed up for public comment and you would like to, I can pass the clipboard over to you if anyone would like to. This is a good pausing moment to sign up. Thank you. Also, you don't have to comment out loud. You can comment on a card. So if you would also like to write your comment and submit it, and you need a second card or you never received a card, we can pass those out. Does anyone need this at the moment? Okay, everyone's still all set? Okay, great. Then we will press on. All right, so I'm going to pass it back to our city team to continue with the second half of the presentation, the draft public engagement summary. Let's take a look at what some of our public said. Oh, is it on? Folks can hear?
Thank you, Catherine. So moving on to the draft public engagement summary. It's on. Yeah. Are you getting it?
Can folks hear online?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great.
All right, on September 4th, we released 2 documents, summary of key engagement efforts and public workshops, appendices. We're working on a more polished report, the draft public engagement summary that will be released later this fall. Part of that is we're still analyzing information from City Heights, CDC-led activities, Cal Poly SLO, and some interactive survey, and the community meetings. So today we're just going to talk about the 4 major activities in the engagement, key engagement efforts. So these 4 activities: number 1, online survey, pop-ups, stations that we had all over Miss City, and other activities. Number 2, public workshops, in person and virtual. Number 3, office hours, community interviews and emails. And number 4, youth engagement with the Hoover and Crawford High School students and community members associated with those students. Just wanted a caveat, it's going to be super high level because we received over 5,000 comments. And if we wanted to talk about every comments, we'll be here all night. And so it's going to be very high level, but the report's online and everything, hopefully it's summary of everything we heard. So in terms of online survey and pop-ups, so over 3,000 comments were generated from 1,275 participants. We asked 3 questions. What word would you use to describe Miss City or your neighborhood today? And what word would you use to describe the ideal future vision of Miss City or your neighborhood? And what is your zip code? And the results, let's see. All right. So first question, what word would you use to describe Miss City today? And the most common answer was diverse or diversity, multicultural to inclusive. 16% of participants mentioned or used these words to describe their neighborhood, followed by 12% of participants felt their neighborhood was neglected, underserved, and infrastructure deficient. Followed by 10% of folks that, thought their neighborhood was amazing, beautiful, and charming. Followed by 9% of folks that felt their neighborhood was dangerous, dirty, and unsafe. Really struck. All right. And then 8% felt their neighborhood was calm, peaceful, and quiet. A lot of the canyon adjacent neighborhoods, I imagine. And other 8% of folks said it was community, family oriented, friendly, and neighborly. Another 8% of folks said their neighborhood was walkable, vibrant, dynamic. 6% said Miss City was too busy, loud, crowded, and car dependent. Followed by 6% that felt, Miss City is central, urban, dense, and transit rich, evolving, growing, developing, and eclectic, unique, and colorful with 4%. 4% of participants were really talking about unaffordable housing and cost of living and the major homelessness issue in the community to describe Miss City today. And the rest, 3% said clean, green, and safe. And 2%, really value the historic single family and suburban nature of Miss City. And 1% of folks said there's no parking. So that's the summary for today. And you might be wondering, well, is this different by zip codes? So we have a zip code based analysis. 92105 is most of the city heights and parts of eastern area, Oak Park to be specific. The top 5 was the same, but a larger percentage, 19% of folks, really value the diverse, inclusive, multicultural aspect of the community, followed by 12% that felt it was dangerous, dirty, and unsafe. 10% that felt that it was amazing, beautiful, charming, but also neglected, underserved, and infrastructure deficient. And then 7% calm, peaceful, quiet. What about the next zip code, 92115, which includes Talmadge and El Cerrito and parts of Orlando? Again, it's very similar. The top 4 is the same. Again, diversity being number 1, followed by this feeling of, neighborhoods that are being neglected, underserved, infrastructure deficient, but then really appreciating the community, family-oriented, friendly, and neighborly kind of place that they live. And then dangerous, dirty, unsafe, 10%, amazing, beautiful, charming. So the final zip code we'll talk about is 92116, which is Normal Heights and Kensington. And their top 5 are folks that participated from this zip code. Number 1, about describing their community as walkable, vibrant, dynamic, 15%. I mean, it has an amazing, business district, followed by community, family-oriented, friendly, and neighborly. And then 11% felt, yes, diverse, multicultural, inclusive, followed by 10%. I felt, their neighborhood was central, urban, dense, and transit rich. And then followed by evolving, growing, developing. I think the one thing you notice is the top 5 is all positive, right? So, I mean, it just highlights the uniqueness, the disparity, and just different experience amongst people living in Miss City. So what about your ideal vision of Miss City, the future vision? So the number 1 common words, affinity groups, was clean, safe, thriving neighborhoods. 17% of folks really envisioned Miss City to be this, followed by vibrant, walkable, mixed-use places and corridors at 16%. Better infrastructure, mostly related to mobility. So that's transportation, better roads and sidewalks and transit and bike facilities, and also additional public facilities. Followed by 8% of folks said more green spaces, trees, parks, and recreational, opportunities. And followed by 8% of folks that said build affordable homes for all. Followed by more, more accessibility, diversity, equitable, and inclusive community. So really maintaining what makes this community special, but improving the accessibility part for folks in wheelchairs and whatnot. It's really hard to get by with a stroller, for example. 7% of folks, wanted to see beautiful, charming, dynamic, and innovative neighborhoods, more sustainable, resilient communities. And another 7% wanted to maintain the community-oriented, friendly, neighborly aspect of Miss City. 5% of folks wanted to preserve neighborhood character. So they didn't want to see any change at all, and expand, historic districts, and to limit new high-rise buildings. And 3% envision a peaceful, quiet, and serene neighborhoods. And 2%, so this is more a dystopian, envision crowded, destroyed, declining community. The one person said Thunderdome. I don't know if you know the reference to Mad Max movie. So there's a 2% of folks describe the future that way, and then additional 2% said more parking. So this was what we heard so far. In terms of the zip code based analysis, so it was pretty universal, and there wasn't a huge variation between the 3 major zip codes, but I wanted to just highlight the first 3. So the first one, clean, safe, thriving neighborhoods. This was a major priority at 23% for 92105, which most of the city heights is 92105. So that was a bigger priority. For vibrant, walkable, mixed-use places and corridors, the 92116, with 21% of participants, envisioning, enhancing, I suppose, the walkability of their neighborhoods. And then finally, preserve neighborhood character. So 10% of folks from 92116 really envisioned the future to, protect the historic aspect of the community. So that was some of the major changes, but everything else was pretty universal across Mid-City. All right, so I'm going to pass it on to Selena, all right, for the public workshop summary.
Next, we had 2 public workshops, one in person and another virtual. In total, we had 74 participants. The in-person workshop was organized around 6 stations, and we held discussion groups during which we asked to keep the public key questions on land use, mobility, parks, public facilities, and other topics. Or during the virtual workshop, we gave a presentation, conducted an interactive survey, and held a similar discussion group. Next, the workshop summary. The key ideas we received were to provide more opportunities for homes for a variety of incomes and household types, to provide more safer streets, mobility options for all, to maintain and enhance existing parks, to create a new network of open spaces and trails, to expand the urban tree canopy, improve landscape, and add other types of shade, and to create new and improved social hearts and commercial hubs. Next, we also held office hours and community interviews. We held 2 office hours in the Adams Recreation Center, 2 sessions in the City Heights Library, and 2 in the College of Orlando Library for a total of 9 participants. We also had 11 community interviews. We sent 42 invitations to community-based organizations and had 10 virtual and 1 in-person interview with a total of 23 participants. In addition, we encouraged the public to email us with any comments and concerns. And the key ideas that we received were to focus on equitable community outreach and distribution of resources, to fairly distribute new homes across Mid-City, to provide more diverse housing options, greater density and ownership opportunities, to identify strategies for future development that minimizes displacement, to preserve community character, diversity, and history, to revitalize the declining business areas and expand business improvement districts to better support small businesses, to support the local food economy. In addition, to invest in transit and biking and pedestrian facilities, to identify more traffic calming measures and roundabouts to support safer streets for all, to expand urban trails that connect Mid-City, to provide new fire safety requirements and emergency access. And there was an environmental concern about the location of the proposed fire station on Fairmount Avenue. Lastly, we engaged the youth. approximately 300 participants, 155 which were students, and 145 were community members. We had a total of 21 sessions with students from Hoover High School, Crawford High School, and we engaged them through creative writing assignments, community interviews, photography, and a survey. And these were the key ideas we heard from the youth: to preserve the cultural diversity and the inclusive atmosphere of Mid-City by protecting key cultural sites, to provide more cafes, diverse restaurants, small local shops, and a nearby mall. There was a strong support for affordable housing and improved housing conditions. Some common concerns included the potential housing cost increases and the potential displacement and the impact on homeless individuals. Economic disparities were highlighted, with wealthier areas having better infrastructure and resources compared to poorer neighborhoods. There is a desire for more jobs to be created so people can continue to live in Mid-City. There is a call for additional street lighting, better maintained sidewalks, and roads with fewer potholes. Driving is the preferred mode of transportation for students who desire to feel secure and comfortable. Libraries, parks, and community centers are important places to spend time with family and friends, and they would like additional hangout spots like skate parks. And lastly, they would like to see more trees in their neighborhood. And that concludes our phase 1 public engagement results. And as Alex said, this is very high level, and for more detail, you can visit our website for our public engagement documents.
Thank you. All right. So let's once again hear from the working group. The questions are a bit different this time. We're interested to know what is most significant to you from the public engagement summaries, even just speaking generally. Also, what resonates most for you as it pertains to your community's experience. Not that you can speak for your whole community, but you have a perspective on your experience with your community. Are there any surprises? And then we're saying if you have questions or clarifications, you can submit those by comment card. So I'm also attuned to those who are online. Feel free to raise your hand if you have a comment. Who would like to offer something, a perspective, an observation on the public engagement summary? Okay, ma'am.
This is Nam Nguyen. I thought it was very interesting that across the board, particularly between the survey responses and the youth, is the interest in having more community spaces, park spaces, and something that struck me was the youth specifically calling out cafes and places for them to hang out. Particularly in places like City Heights, I think seeing kids walk around, it is important to have a multitude of places where they can go. Like the YMCA is very popular, and so I think it is very important going forward to consider adding more, or finding the tools and the means to add more places, particularly for the community to gather and for the youth to gather, instead of having to go from school to home, home to school. Thank you.
Thank you, Nam. Go for it, David.
Nam just made a very, I think, important point. And when you consider where these things should be located, my rule has always been, can you stand outside and have a conversation? Because if you can't stand outside and have a conversation, it's not the kind of place you and your people you're thinking about are looking for. So that was why the comment I made at one of these sessions was that El Cajon Boulevard is too wide, too busy, too fast, too noisy. And so El Cajon Boulevard will not be that sort of neighborhood serving commercial center. You'll need to get something that kind of goes off the boulevard into the quieter reaches to be that kind of neighborhood serving commercial.
Thank you. Anyone online or here in person have something else you want to? Yes, we have someone online. Go for it when you're ready.
Hello, can you hear me?
Oh, yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Is it a working group member? Oh, I see. Okay, okay. Sorry about that. We'll get to public comment shortly.
Hi, it's
Angel.
Angelica. Yeah, thanks. And thank you to the city staff. I appreciate the breakdown of the public comments from at least the first 4 events. One thing that really struck out to me is the distribution from zip codes. And I think, we look for a geography to associate these findings to, and I think zip code is a decent geography to think about. But something strikes me from my neighborhood, which is El Cerrito, which is split by El Cajon Boulevard. And I think there's a real difference between the north side of El Cajon Boulevard, where I like to walk my dog every single day, and then my neighborhood, which is just south. There's more street trees, there's less vehicles. Nicer homes. And so I think for future kind of community voices, it might be interesting just to take it one step further down and consider the differences of neighborhoods and people's feedback. Because it was interesting from my community as well as City Heights to see that there is 7% or so of folks that are like, this is a beautiful, calm and quaint neighborhood. And then there's an even more amount of, I think it was like 10% or something that said it was loud and busy and underinvested. And so I think there's kind of a need to get more granular so we can make better informed decisions on the differences of land uses for the future phases of this project.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else have something you want to offer? Anything you observed? Okay. Brittany.
I would like to propose, it's Brittany Gordon, everybody. Hello. I would like to propose the creation of the Community Land Trust, which allows residents to collectively own and control land for housing purposes. The Community Land Trust helps stabilize neighborhoods by offering permanent affordability, giving the community more power to prevent displacement.
Thank you. All right, anyone else? Yes, I see Zach's hand, and please let us know online if you are also raising your hand.
What stood out to me from the feedback that you presented is that good and bad comments, our community is all of those things. And kind of playing off of what the others have said, depending on what zip code you live on and what street you live on, you can have a very different experience in the same exact neighborhood. Urban or City Heights around University Avenue and Euclid can be very loud and noisy and dirty, and you can feel unsafe there in the evening walking at night. But then you go a few blocks, in the other direction towards Kensington and Adams Avenue, it feels very safe and lovely and almost European. You have all the cafes you could want. There's a bus line to take you somewhere else if you need to go there. But it's just 2 totally different worlds, and it's all in the same neighborhood. And then to reiterate what Nam was saying, you cannot underestimate the power of a third space in your city. I work from home. I'm constantly craving third spaces. Get me out of the house. Anywhere to take the dog in the middle of a heat wave when it's 100 degrees outside. Is there somewhere with a coffee and a mister? I'll go there and sit. So a third space for everyone of any age is really, really important.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, yeah, offer.
This is Nam Nguyen. Something that is interesting in particular for the purview of the planning update is that concern about clean and safe neighborhoods. The question I have is, within the abilities of this working group and of the planning update, just maybe as a ballpark example of what might we be able to do in terms of input into the planning update that might be able to address this aspect, if it's zoning or improving mobility or whatnot, what can we do to address the top concern from the public comments?
Thank you for the question. So clean and safe, right? So who cleans our neighborhoods right now? It's a lot of it falls on business improvement districts, right? In association, but that only covers, the main corridors right now. And I know there are cleanup, efforts and whatnot. So ultimately it's land use change, but it's redevelopment, right? Is you get wider sidewalks, you get more trees, more street trees, you get better amenities like a promenade or other public spaces. So realistically speaking, plan could offer those visions. But at the end of the day, it's for the private sector to, develop, right? These aspects of it. But then if you look at the concern of displacement, folks, and gentrification, people don't want, to see a lot of change because, it affects affordability or, maybe their apartment gets redeveloped, right? So everything is a trade-off. So I think it's clear the vision, but there are a lot of trade-offs in the path. So we'll explore that, through potential design intervention. That's the safety aspect of it. There are certain urban design principles that can help with that. But yeah, I think we'll carry on everything we've heard and kind of that vision, and it can apply to different parts of the community, and come out with some concepts and build a framework and preliminary vision and policy. So those are kind of things. Yeah, not the actual implementation, which is actually picking up the garbage and sweeping. Yeah. Yes, Brittany.
One thing I don't like is being a toe stepper, but I'm gonna toe step. First, it takes the community to keep things together as far as cleanliness. If you see something that's dirty and you don't like it, go clean it up. Because others will see you do it and maybe they'll do it. You know what I mean? If you see a homeless person, what's wrong with asking them, hey, what can I do to assist you today? How can we change this situation? He may or she may have a mental illness. We don't know what's going on with half of the people that are on the streets, but I know that at one point in my life, I was homeless. And I know that I was like straight torn out of my apartment for no reason. My rent was paid on time. Like I abided by the rules. I don't know if it was the color of my skin that got me removed. I don't know if it was because at the time my sexuality didn't agree with whoever else's was living around me. I have no idea. But not one person ever stopped to ask me, what are you doing outside in this tent? Not one person. It took almost 6 years for me to get out of that. You know what I mean? And so it takes a community of people to get together and make their neighborhoods better versus actually sitting and complaining about things that the city shouldn't have to worry about. It's the people in the community. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Brittany, for offering such a personal story
No
too.
problem. Absolutely.
All right. Anybody else? Okay. In that case, actually, if you could advance the slide, Alex and Selena. We are going to go to public comment, but we wanted to, just in case people need to slip away, we wanted to also make sure that we did a little bit of announcements around upcoming activities, and then we'll show you hopefully this slide again at the end, but here we go.
In terms of upcoming reports and studies, we've touched on this earlier, but the more polished engagement summary will be coming out in October, and existing conditions mobility assessment. So this is the detail, assessment of our streets and sidewalks and bike facilities and the transit networks. So that will be coming out also probably November timeframe, the traffic counts, right? And we're also working on the historic context statement and survey. This will guide evaluating historical resources. So that should be coming out November, December timeframe. And then all of this, everything we've heard, all the technical studies will kind of flow through into this ideas report next spring, which will provide a preliminary draft framework and vision and concepts and options. So that's kind of what we're looking at for the next 6, 7, 8 months. Please visit our project website, sign up for updates. And there will be several upcoming community forums. We're meeting with the Kensington Talmadge Planning Group on September 30th. We're still trying to figure out City Heights Planning Group timeframe. There is a Planning Commission workshop. It's an informational item. So we'll be going over the existing conditions and public engagement summary with the planning commissioners. And that's open to anyone that wants to attend and provide public comment as well. And future working group meetings. So the next meeting, we're thinking December, maybe January, but a multimodal mobility assessment and historic context statement. So that will be the topics we'll be covering and maybe a little bit more of the engagement summary.
All right, so we are at our public comment moment. Those of you online, please go ahead and raise your hand, and Paul is helping us to create the online queue. As we noted, you can write your comment card if you're not interested in speaking in public. That is also received and documented and taken in as input. If you didn't already sign up, you're welcome to put your name down. But we're gonna go ahead and start with Valerie. It's Valerie here. Valerie, come on, if you're comfortable, we're gonna set up a mic right here so that we can hear you.
Thank you.
And also, I wanted to know, I'm gonna time you. Yeah, about a minute, about a minute.
I'll try and
Oh,
speed
do
talk.
your best, do your best. Thank you.
And my name is Valerie Traina. I'm from the neighborhood of Webster, which I never hear ever mentioned. Anyway, I'm addressing the Fairmount proposed fire station, which none of my neighbors want. And I really hope that you will think about this because it's a very sensitive canyon where I live. We're in a mobile home park. And there's an ecosystem that's very dear to our hearts. And I don't want anything to disturb those animals. And the second part of that is, I mean, it adds so much enjoyment to our neighbors, all of us, to have these animals around. The fire station is going to be a hugely destructive where it's going to be placed. It's going to destroy the canyon. Please talk to your superiors and quash this thing. Move it somewhere else. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, is there someone online who is ready to speak? Benjamin.
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me okay?
We're ready when you are, and I'm timing you on my end, giving you about a minute. Yes, we
Okay.
hear you.
Thank you. One comment and one question. The comment is, I just wanted to say I appreciate a lot of the acknowledgement about needing a little bit more granularity in some of the studies. I think within the Mid-City District, there's a lot of different realities depending on the area of Mid-City that you're in. And so that was great to hear that that's on people's minds, and I encourage that deeper look. The question I have is, within the mobility study, I wasn't sure if connectivity was something that is being considered. My neighborhood, I'm in the 92105 district and Fairmont Park. And particularly for bike mobility and pedestrian mobility, we're a pretty isolated community. And I was curious if connectivity, repairing some of the disconnect that has occurred through freeway locations and other infrastructure, a lot of industrial zoning in our area as well. So connectivity between mid-city to other areas, if that's something that you guys are considering. Thank you.
Yeah, just a quick answer. The connectivity between neighborhoods, communities, and the subregions are all part of the mobility kind of analysis study and the concept. So yeah, we'll be looking at that. But yeah, Fairmont its park is pretty isolated. It is an island in a sense. So thanks for your comment.
Yeah, thank you for the response.
And Danielle, come on up.
Danielle Lehman. First, well, I have 4 points, so I get 15 seconds each. We set through an hour and a half and you get 1 minute. There's 16 people on this working group and only 10 are attending. And so my question is, are you gonna take attendance and substitute people in who have attended in the audience? One of the industrial areas that you pointed out are all the industrial areas are private. You forgot to include the op yards on College Grove Drive, which has over 1,000 people needing parking spaces. And we know that now because they're all parking along College Grove Drive because of the methane leak. And MTS does not have a connection on College Grove Drive from 54th Street up to the shopping center. So none of those city employees can take public transportation to their work. And lastly, we would like either at an area committee of Parks and Rec or at the Parks and Rec board a tutorial on park points, because David's comments were spot on. We still can't figure out how you figure out park points for all the different neighborhoods. Kental is at 8% in parks, and I think
5
it's Eastern
seconds.
is probably at 88, right? Okay, thanks.
Thank you. There are 3 members online, so I can just say that. Okay. And is there anyone else online? Yes, we'll take who's next. Paul Jameson.
Yeah, my name is Paul. I live in Kensington, and Benjamin's comment made me raise my hand because I wanted to second what he said about bike connections. I never really venture east of Kensington where I live because it's not safe, and been working for a long time to try and get a safe east-west bike connection, and we still don't have it. So just wanted to encourage that in this process. And my final point would be the note about Kensington historic preservation. There's a lot of great historical properties here, yes, but it's a very high resource area, and I'd love to just see more housing in Kensington, make sure that we're doing our fair share to address the housing crisis. Let's see how we can come up with the solutions that address both preserving some of the historic nature of the community, but also allowing other people of various income types to live in our community and support it and work at the local jobs. Thanks.
Thank you. And we have Drew is next. Is Drew still here? Maybe Drew is no longer here. So we'll take, is it Elise? Thank you, Elise.
I might speak fast so I can get through everything, but super thankful that we're having this space. My comment is more general. I used to live in North Park. I bought in City Heights. I'm fascinated with the history of North Park because it used to be incredibly diverse, but it was gentrified. And so I would love for beauty to come to City Heights without it becoming a space where the people that are here currently have to then be forced out. And so, Kensington's like a utopia in comparison to City Heights, even though they're literally across the street from each other. And so I would love for us to continue to have these conversations, bring the beauty, but allow the people that are here to be able to stay there. So that's my comment.
Thank you. And online, and by the way, on standby is Andy here in the room. No one online. So then Andy, is up.
My name is Andy Hillscamp. I'm from Eastern area, specifically Oak Park community. I've lived in the area for over 50 years. Couple corrections last night at the Eastern area. A presentation was that Choyas is a community park. It is not. It is a regional park. And also historical sites. The Navy housing was omitted. That is a historical site. It's at Cottage Grove area. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Let us know if any online folks pop up, and we have, is it Dana? Dana, come on over, Dana.
My question is for Alex. I've been involved with the college area community plan update for at least the last 3 years. Those meetings were conducted by the committee and Nathan Cosvin, and for a while, Nancy Graham. My question to you is, can you please explain why, when San Diego is facing tough budget constraints and asking for the residents for tax increases, the city is catering these planning meetings and paying consultants to moderate the meetings?
Thanks for the question. So how are we funding this plan update, right? And why are we? There was a community desire to start the Mid-City Community Plan update. Mid-City is made up of 4 community planning areas. College area is 1, right? Small, comparable to size to maybe Kensington Talmadge, right? So that's part of that. And we decided to do the joint Mid-City working group. And one of the suggestions we received from the community was that these volunteers, appreciated having food provided, and also for community members to be able to attend. So this is a
At
service.
taxpayer expense.
This is grant funding that was provided. Yes, that was awarded to the City of San Diego. So we apply for grants. In fact, we were awarded 2 additional grants. So we've been applying for this. But yes, technically it's from Transnet, right? We all pay into the excise tax. So that's the first part of the grant. And the other 2 grants are from the state. And so, everybody pays into that. So
Well, the
yeah.
college area also received grants, but that money did not go to consultants or catering.
Well, there is a consultant for college area.
But not conducting meetings.
So Dana, I hear you saying you don't have a value for food at a meeting like this, and I think that's fine. That's good. I would say that what he was saying is that others have expressed that it's helpful. It helps them get here to have a meal. They can stay here. And so, but your opinion is tracked, and I think that's great. Do you have one final thought before we move to the next?
Can I add one other point?
Sure.
So we also go to all 4 planning groups to present. So we've been going several times already as the plan update process has moved forward. Those are solely by planning staff. So for the joint, this is, we want to make the experience pleasant, and that's why we have facilitators and technical assistants to provide the hybrid approach so people can access online. So yes, these are all aspects of it that the joint Mid-City, working group has more amenities, let's just say, right? Opportunities to make it more accessible but worthwhile for folks attending. But again, when we go to the planning group, it's just the planning staff dealing with that. So
My observation compared to the meetings I've been going to for 3 years is that there's significantly less interaction among the actual planning group because of having facilitators. I hope that doesn't come at the expense of the community planning. That's all I'll say. Thank you for your response.
Thank you, Dana. Okay, next we have Rocio. Hi, Rocia. And if there are others who, if you have an idea or a thought that's emerged, there is more time for public comment.
I have, I don't know if this goes into the planning, but I believe it should be. One of the problems that we have in the community is parking. And then they have been issues, permits with no facilitating parkings, and then the parking goes into the street, and it's becoming a big problem, especially in City Hall, well, I guess over San Diego. And the other one, the federal income for poverty is 27,000, I believe, for 4 people, or I can't remember exactly. But the one that has been affected the most is the median class. Someone that make $70,000 cannot even afford to rent a place here. And I think that we should be working into that to raise it up and help our people that needs help in San Diego, in City Heights, in Beach City. That's the two topics.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, so is there anyone else? Yes. We know each other, but I don't remember your name. Hi.
My name is Anastasia Brewster. I'm a resident of the Choice Creek community, which is south of University. And one of the things that stood out to me was how the youth multiple times mentioned tree canopy. And that got me thinking, well, as users of the built environment, they're probably realizing that we have a pretty poor one. And so I'm wondering how the community plan is addressing climate resilience and how it's looking at making sure that our plan designs a community that not only is resilient into the future facing climate change, but in such a way that it protects the communities that are most vulnerable to climate change.
Thank you.
I can answer that.
Okay.
So climate resilience is a important component of the Mid-City Communities Plan update. And as we release the ideas report, we'll look at different opportunities, concepts, ideas to green, Mid-City and provide basically blue-green infrastructures that help, our neighborhoods more resilient, but also beautiful. So those will be an important component of the plan.
Okay, are there any more members of the public who would like to offer comment? And then because we have a little extra time, I'll also send it back to the working group. If you all have anything you want to say as we move toward the close of the evening. Anyone else have anything you want to offer? Okay. Anyone else in our public? Yes, come and join us here. Your name, Nardine.
Live in the Redwood Village area. I hope you can hear me. My question is more in where the framework here will fit in the new projects. We have the new bikeway projects for the whole area and some of the parks that are kind of proposed. And as some of the groups have been working on specifying some needs like the tree canopies, we're facing some really big oppositions from the planners to say it's not in budget. You're not getting trees, and we're trying to get maybe 9 trees, and they're not doing that on the entire university area. I think I'm seeing some chance that you're going to miss the train, and these projects will be done when all of your framework is exited or submitted. So maybe before all that is done, kind of have some influence on these bigger projects that we're going to see, I hope, very soon, like January 2025.
Yeah, thank you for the comment. So the university bikeway and this street tree issue, I've heard also from other folks. So that is already funded, right? So it's at the implementation phase that the street division's working on. But so I don't know if we can do anything about it, but we'll meet with the transportation department, right, to elevate. It's not built, yeah. Yeah, the engineering level plan. So we'll talk to our mobility planner and then interface with the street division on that. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. I see your hand. Is there anyone who, from the public who's not yet spoken, who would like to offer a comment? Do I see a hand over here? Yes, come on over. And remind me of your name. It's coming closer. Laquita. Thank you, Laquita.
Hi, I'm from City Heights. My name is Maquita. And
A little bit closer to the mic.
I think that there should be, the issues of the displacement should be addressed. We're worried about trees and parking and everything like that, but we're not worried about the people that's actually in the community. There's, because I live there, so I see a lot more than most. There needs to be a facility where there's bathrooms needs to be implemented because there are so many homeless people. I don't know if anybody else likes to walk down the street and smell urine. I don't. It's because they have nowhere to use the bathroom. We talked about parks and everything. Parks is fine, but there's no kids in City Heights that goes to the park. I have children, I go to the park and we don't see any children. So maybe we should look into that. How do we get our kids back into our community? Funding is an issue. How about a community fundraiser where the people in the community will actually be more than ready to help as far as that goes? I don't know, there's a lot of issues as far as with the displacement and the things that goes on with City Heights. It's like their voices are not being heard. You know, they're still human. They don't have a place to stay, but they still are human. They need to be heard. And the things that's going on in the community as far as our protection and everything like that, it's not good. Okay, I'm done.
I was afraid if I interrupted you, that might happen. But, yes. Hi, I'm Micah. I'm a resident in City Heights. And I've been a resident since I was like 5 years old. And so I know that Todd Gloria, the mayor, he just talked about how Bear Park in San Isidro is the first new park built within San Diego in over 25 years. And so how likely do you think it is that we can bring a new park into City Heights or any of the neighboring communities to deal with this points thing that I can't remember what it's called? But yeah, I just am really curious because if it's one new park in over 25 years, that's like kind of insane. Thank you.
Yeah, so welcome to City San Diego. So I'll give an example. So Mira Mesa, the community park that's being constructed or they're starting construction, 20 years in the making. So it's taking 20 years to get that point. There is a new park that's being proposed, the Choice Triangle Park, which has gone through the general development process. So you know, the initial design funding is available and that's going to be a great new addition to City Heights, but the community's been fighting really hard to get that resource. So any large, you know, park spaces, it takes a long time. Yeah, right. And it's a 20-year, 30-year long range plan. But we first need to identify these opportunities. The smaller parks, you can probably see 5-10 years, right? But it all is contingent on funding. And if you want new public spaces, plazas, you know, paseos, promenades, again, those are typically through redevelopment, which is another avenue, right? So yes, there are some parks coming, actually, new parks. And several new ones have been built in the last 10 years in City Heights. So there's that as well. So, I mean, it's been prioritized. So that's my comment on that.
Thank you. All right. I think we have Danielle, and then we're going to turn it over to a couple working group members, and we should get done almost on time. Yeah.
At last night's Eastern area, where Shawnee Lolavera was present, he did say that there are more trees coming to University Ave. They have pushed and pushed and pushed, and Sandag says, yes, there are going to be more trees on Uni Ave, okay? Not just 9. As to the parks, Mr. Frost, yeah, there are more than 9 coming. They wouldn't, yeah, exactly. They wouldn't give us a number, but they said more than 9. Mr. Frost, Choice Triangle Park is actually an eastern area. And also don't forget the huge regional park that's coming, Choice Creek Watershed, all along the south end of Mid-City, and also the other side of 94, but it's going to be a huge regional park and we're going to take it one little piece at a time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. As we said, we are going to hang around a little bit afterwards as well if there is more conversation to be had. For now, I believe David and then Zach. If you still have your comment. Yeah.
So this is for the working group members, and something important for you all to keep in mind. Those sandag population, this goes back to our previous meeting, those sandag population estimates for 2022 are pure fiction. They are of no basis in reality. I've done a deeper dive on those, and there's no way that, at least in my community, that we had a 10% population drop in 2 years. In my conversations with sandag staff, well, email, and with Alex, I was sort of getting the impression that, well, just an annual update to these numbers would fix the problem next year when the new number comes out. But there's a problem in the algorithm, and it isn't just that they have out-of-date data. There is a problem in their algorithm where they are not counting something. I'm not sure what it is, but just waiting another year will not fix this population miscount. And because I did this right before I came, and there was a comment from online, I did an analysis of what our Kensington Talmadge housing units really are based on what's really been built, based from 2010. And we had 5.5% housing unit growth in the past 12 years, which actually is the highest growth of any of the 4 planning areas.
Thank you. If you can help me, Randy, to pass it over to Zach. Oh, okay. Okay. All good. Anyone else? Okay. I see 1 and 2.
So Alex, this is a question for you. So I hear what you're saying on new parks. What about joint use with San Diego Unified? If we have all these schools, I think it was like 35 in this area with drastically declining student enrollment, that begs, I mean, obviously that means those properties are being underutilized, right? Just by definition of that. So, you know, I've lived in other neighborhoods where I could go use sports fields on the weekends and after school hours. And it seems like we can't do that here. I understand sometimes there's bad actors in the community that take advantage of being able to do that, but I don't think all of us law abiding citizens should have to suffer for that. And that goes back to what the youth were saying. And I think a lot of the residents that we need public safety, right? It can't just be, sorry, no one gets to use the fields. It has to be police presence so that we can use the fields. I have the Crawford High School / man baseball field is right there. I'd like to be able to use it. It's a block from my house. There's an area outside of the field that would be perfect for a dog run with, I think, very minimal investment, and potentially even put a playground there for the young families that have moved into El Cerrito. It seems like that would be a very low level investment, and all it takes is for the city to talk the city's lawyers to get with SC Unified's lawyers and work something out and maybe get a community group going. But I think we should look at the resources we have in a neighborhood and how they can be utilized for more than one use. And it just takes political will, but I think we can do it. So what's the time frame? If we decided we wanted to do that, say at that baseball field, how long would that take? Just estimate.
Yeah, so new joint use park opportunities is the lowest hanging fruit, right? Because the track is already there, the baseball field's already there, the soccer fields are already there. So we meet with San Diego Unified quarterly to talk about projects. So we'll get that elevated and start that discussion. I can't tell you like how long the joint use agreement and back and forth takes, but I know that other communities have been able to significantly expand, you know, new park space or access to recreation opportunities through the joint use agreement. So they've been a good partner with City of San Diego and the community. Thanks.
Thank you. And can you pass it to Nam, please? And then we'll go to Brittany. That will be our last exchange after Brittany.
This is Nam Nguyen. So in the spring should be the draft framework for vision and concepts and ideas. And what I'm hearing from a lot of the folks from the community and also the working group are these ideas and visions for their community. Is there an opportunity? Is there an ability to capture these ideas if they are sent to the planning group email or something like that?
Can you clarify your question?
So just hearing a lot of ideas, and the intention behind my question is to see if there's an ability to bring these ideas to the planning update so that it can be examined and looked into before as these next stages are done, so that by the time of the draft framework with visions and ideas, some of these ideas from the community can be incorporated and looked into as well.
Yeah, well, so I think there's a couple parts to that question. So we have just a list of ideas already, right? But you're saying and additional ideas that may come through the next.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I mean, we just finished the first kind of phase 1 engagement, right? Engagement's not over. We're in phase 2 engagement. And by spring of next year, we're planning to do another, expansive engagement activities, sharing some of the concepts, hearing feedbacks, other ideas. So, I mean, we're constantly open to hearing ideas and potential ways to improve Miss City so that we can incorporate it. But
And
yeah.
what's the avenue for sharing those ideas?
Well, through us, you can email us all the time. You can call us, set up a meeting. Anybody wants to set up a meeting with the city staff, I mean, we're available. We are going to different planning groups as well. So that's another avenue. And then obviously at the working group meeting, so December, but we are open to receiving ideas anytime. But we have to just summarize it, right, initially, and have some initial framework and ideas and directions, but it's an iterative process. So, yeah. But earlier the better, if you have the idea.
Earlier the better.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'm passing it over to you, and we're nearly to 8. We have a couple minutes though, so you can take your time, but this is probably our last dialogue here.
I have a question to the community. Who here thinks that this that we're doing here is all a complete waste of time? Please raise your hand. Yeah, no. The reason why I'm saying that is because probably before maybe 2019, I thought all of this was a complete waste of time. If you don't know somebody that knows somebody, then you might as well just kiss whatever ideas you got goodbye. But since I met Randy over here and he's introduced me into a whole nother world, a lot of my ideas have been implicated. And I speak for my community. I'm from San Diego. All of San Diego is my community. So I don't know. I don't split it up to anywhere else. I'm from everywhere in San Diego. And I'm going to speak up for everybody. So if you guys at any point ever feel that something's not being said, say it to me and I'll say it. Thank you.
It's quite an offer. That's quite an offer. Thank you for that. All right. So actually, I think I was gonna just have it end on this here, just so that we have these announcements up. Alex has already talked us through this. So really, we are just saying thank you to everyone. Thank you for your contributions. Thank you for your thoughts. If you have more to say, you can write it and keep it. Working group members, if you've got your calendar in front of you, probably just Randy, we'll take that because we're working on a rework of the schedule for the next Mid-City Communities Plan working group meetings. So thank you all. Have a good evening.